When loading batteries into the camera, carefully open the battery chamber cover on the bottom of the camera. Load 2 CR2 batteries into the camera and close the battery chamber. Turn the camera on to ensure the batteries have been loaded correctly. We use a 35mm color slide film. The reason for using this film is that the exposure is not corrected during development. Most films are now usually rated with the DX coding system. DX stands for data exchange. The film canister is marked with 12 areas that are either black or silver, which are electrically conductive. These areas tell the camera the ISO film speed of the film in the canister, as well as the number of exposures on the roll of film. When loading the film, first turn the camera on. You will see an E indicating that there is no film currently in the camera. Open the back by sliding the lock release lever. You will load the film canister and pull the film across the shutter to the red indicator mark. Be careful not to accidentally put your finger through the shutter. Holding the cartridge in place so there is no slack, close the back of the camera. You will hear the film automatically advance to the first frame. A number 1 will be indicated on the LCD screen. When changing the lens, first note the lens release button and the indicator dot. Most lenses will have a mount line, as seen here and here. To remove the lens, turn the camera off, depress the lens release button, and rotate the lens until the mount line lines up with the indicator dot. Now you can carefully remove the lens. To mount a lens, simply line up the mount line on the lens with the indicator dot and rotate until the lens clicks into place. First, switch the focus mode selector to manual focus. You can then focus the image by adjusting the focus ring. If your images are still not in focus, autofocus, then adjust the diopter adjustment lever until the images are in focus. First, adjust the exposure mode dial to manual mode. This allows you to select the shutter speed and aperture. To change the shutter speed, simply depress the shutter halfway to see your current settings, and then rotate the command dial. To change the aperture, depress the aperture button and simultaneously rotate the command dial. The aperture button is indicated by a diagram that looks like the diaphragm of the camera or by the letters AV. When looking through the viewfinder, there are several pieces of information that can be seen. The first is your current camera settings, including the shutter speed, aperture, and what frame of the roll you are on. Also in the display is a meter which tells you when the composed image is properly exposed. An overexposure is shown by the indicator line on the right side towards the +2 in the display. This indicates that the aperture needs to be closed down. An underexposure is shown by the indicator line on the left side towards the -2 in the display. This indicates the aperture needs to be opened up. It is also possible to change the exposure by adjusting the shutter speed. However, in most cases, you will be using a shutter speed of 1/60th of a second. It should be noted that when in manual mode, the camera automatically adjusts to center weighted metering. The meter button on the front of the camera can be used to adjust the meter. Simply depress the button and simultaneously rotate the command dial to change the area the camera uses to meter. The selected area will be indicated on the LCD screen. When using filters on the lens, make sure to hold the camera facing upwards when putting the filter on. This prevents dropping the filter accidentally. Carefully screw the filter onto the lens without making it too tight, checking to make sure it is secure before using the camera. When taking the filter off again, hold the camera upwards to prevent dropping the filter and carefully unscrew the filter from the lens. To use the 10-second shutter delay, simply depress the self-timer button on the top of the camera. A clock will appear in the LCD display. When using the shutter delay, after the shutter button is depressed, an indicator light will blink and then hold before the shutter opens. Slide the battery cover open and pull out the battery holder. Load 4 AA batteries into the holder as indicated. Align the corner of the holder with the corner of the battery compartment and slide the holder into the chamber. Slide the battery cover shut. You will need 2 pieces of equipment, a PC cord and a hot shoe adapter. Slide the hot shoe into the accessory shoe on the top of the camera. Attach the PC cord. Plug the other end of the PC cord into the bottom of the flash and lock it in place. The flash is now successfully attached off camera. First, set the zoom on the flash to coordinate the field of coverage on your flash with the field covered by your camera lens. Use wide for a 35mm focal length, normal for 50mm, and telephoto for 105mm, or whichever is closest to your focal length. There is also a wide-angle flash diffuser to be used for a 28mm focal length. Simply insert the diffuser and use with the flash set at the wide zoom. The flash can also be tilted to 90, 75, 60, 45, and 0 degrees to make the flash easier to use. The calculator dial on the flash will help to determine the appropriate f-stops and camera-to-subject distances. First, adjust the outer ring so that the white arrow points at the ISO film speed of the film in the camera. The calculator dial will now indicate the appropriate camera-to-subject distance required for each f-stop. For example, here a 5-foot distance would be required in order to use an f/22. In order to get closer to a subject, it is also possible to use variable power. Simply adjust the dial from manual, which is the full power of the flash, to half power, quarter power, and 1/16 power. When using variable power, adjust the calculator dial so the black arrow indicates the correct power, and then make sure to adjust the power dial. When turned on, the flash will begin to charge. The indicator light glows red when at half power. It glows green when at 3/4 power. And it will begin to blink alternating red and green when it is fully charged. If you are using the calculator dial in the dark, use the light button on the front of the flash to light the dial. The tripod can be adjusted in many ways. The first is to extend the legs to get the desired height. The head of the tripod can be tilted, adjusted to be parallel or perpendicular, or rotated. The tripod head can also be raised and lowered using the crank, or by loosening the knob, setting the desired height, and then tightening the knob back. Attach the camera mount by screwing the plate onto the bottom of the camera. It may be necessary to use a coin to tighten the thumb screw all the way. The camera can now be mounted on a tripod by pushing back the plate lock lever, placing the camera mount into place, and locking the lever. When using the camera without a tripod, one should always use the camera strap. Make sure it is secured through the eyelets and the strap is around your neck so that you do not accidentally drop the camera. In order to manually rewind the film, simultaneously depress the rewind button near the LCD panel, also known as the aperture button, and the rewind button near the exposure mode dial for 1 second. The film will rewind and an E will blink in the frame counter. You can now remove the roll of film. When you are finished using the camera, always remember to replace the lens cap and store the camera away properly.